Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. One moment you're steady on your feet, and the next, the ground gives way beneath you. Setbacks, heartbreaks, failures, they don't knock politely. They crash through your life without warning. But here's the truth. The measure of your strength isn't in avoiding these blows, it's in how you rise after them. This is your journey to bounce back stronger, not just to recover, but to rebuild, renew, and rise to heights you never imagined. Chapter 1. When life knocks you down. Life has no shortage of curveballs. Sometimes they come disguised as a sudden job loss, the end of a relationship, a health scare, a betrayal from someone you trusted, or a dream slipping right through your fingers despite years of effort. The worst part? Most of the time, you never see it coming. One morning you're sipping your coffee, making plans for the week ahead, and by nightfall, everything has changed. When life knocks you down, it doesn't send a polite invitation. It barges in. It strips away the sense of control you thought you had. It makes you question your worth, your plans, and sometimes even your place in the world. And in those moments, the temptation to just stay down is overwhelming. After all, why get back up if you might just be knocked down again? But here's the thing, staying down is a choice, and so is getting back up. That first moment after a setback feels like standing in the middle of a wreckage, unsure where to begin. Yet, in that very place, in the chaos and the rubble, seeds of your greatest strength are hidden. It's not just about surviving, it's about learning to look at the mess and saying, "This is where my comeback starts." We've been conditioned to believe that strength is about avoiding breakdowns. It's not. Real strength is forged in the breakdown. You find out who you really are when life doesn't go according to plan. The truth is, there are lessons and capabilities within you that only reveal themselves in moments of pressure and loss. Think about a professional boxer. Every punch they take in the ring isn't just an attack. It's feedback. It's teaching them how to block better, dodge smarter, and hit harder. Life's hits work the same way. They aren't there to stop you. They're there to shape you into someone capable of more. When I say, life knocks you down, I'm not speaking from theory. I've seen people lose everything, homes, careers, marriages, and still rise to rebuild. One man I met had poured his heart into building his small business for over a decade. One economic crash, and it was gone. For a month, he sat in his apartment, blinds drawn, feeling the weight of his failure. But slowly, he started taking walks, talking to other entrepreneurs, learning where he went wrong, and picking up new skills. Today, he runs a new company, stronger and more resilient than before. He told me, "Losing that business was the best thing that happened to me. It forced me to become who I was meant to be." Here's the reality. No one is exempt from being knocked down. But the most successful, fulfilled people you admire, they've been there, flat on the ground, doubting everything. The difference is, they didn't make it their permanent address. So when you're knocked down, what can you do in those raw, painful first days? Acknowledge the hit. Pretending it didn't happen or that you're fine only delays healing. Admit it hurt. Name it. Say, "This happened. It shook me, but it won't define me." Allow yourself to feel. Numbness isn't strength. Strength is feeling the loss, the anger, the disappointment, and still deciding to rise later. Avoid rash decisions. In the fog of pain, it's easy to quit jobs, end friendships, or make promises you can't keep. Give yourself time to breathe before you act. Anchor yourself in small routines. Simple habits like making your bed, taking a walk, or eating healthy food help remind you that you still have control over parts of your life. Remember, this isn't the end. It feels final when you're in it, but almost every ending in life becomes a beginning when you give it time. When you hit the ground, it's tempting to focus only on what you've lost. But you also have something you didn't before, a new starting point. Every setback plants you in new soil. It's unfamiliar and uncomfortable, but it can be fertile ground if you choose to nurture it. The truth. Being knocked down isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. Staying down is. And if you can hold on, if you can breathe through the pain and take one small step forward, you've already started the process of bouncing back stronger. Chapter 2. The Power of Choosing to Rise. Getting knocked down isn't optional. Rising back up? That's where the choice comes in. And that choice changes everything. In the aftermath of a setback, your mind offers two main roads: the road of resignation and the road of resilience. Resignation is the easier road at first. It tells you, it's over, you can't win. Why bother? It's quiet, it's familiar, and it demands nothing from you. But it also traps you. You end up living in the shadow of what happened, replaying it over and over like a broken record. Resilience, on the other hand, is uncomfortable at first. It's uphill. It demands energy you think you don't have. It whispers, get up. One more try. One more step. It's not loud, but if you listen closely, it's always there. The people who change their lives are the ones who choose that voice. I've met countless people who turned their lives around because they made a single decision: to rise. Not when the pain disappeared. Not when things felt ready. They chose to rise right in the middle of the mess. That's the secret. The decision comes first, the feeling comes later. Consider the story of a woman who was diagnosed with a chronic illness in her mid-30s. Overnight, her active lifestyle changed. She couldn't work the same hours, travel freely, or keep up with her old routines. For months, she sank into frustration. But then, she asked herself a powerful question. If I can't go back to the life I had, what life can I build now? That shift in thinking was her rise. Today, she runs a successful online coaching business from home, helping others with similar challenges. She told me, I didn't get my old life back, but I built a life I love. Rising is a choice you make over and over. You might choose it one morning, then face another blow that evening. That doesn't mean you failed. It means resilience is a daily practice. Here are steps to choosing to rise even when everything in you wants to stay down. Make the decision early. The longer you wait, the heavier inertia becomes. Decide, I will rise, even if you don't know how yet. Accept imperfection. Your comeback won't be neat or linear. Some days you'll feel strong. Others, you'll want to quit. That's part of the process. Shift your identity. Stop calling yourself broken or a failure. Start seeing yourself as in the process of rebuilding. Create a vision. Even a vague picture of where you want to go fuels you more than staring at where you've been. Surround yourself with lifters. People who believe in your comeback will help you keep choosing to rise when your own belief falters. One of the most empowering truths you can embrace is this: the comeback starts the moment you decide it will. The world doesn't have to give you permission. The circumstances don't have to be perfect. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to decide. Rising doesn't mean the pain disappears. It means you refuse to let the pain be the last chapter. Every time you choose to rise, you reclaim a little more of your power. And over time, those small acts of courage build into something unshakable. The most inspiring people in history, leaders, inventors, survivors, weren't spared from being knocked down. They simply made a different choice afterward. They decided again and again that no matter how many times they fell, they would rise one more time than they fell. You have that same power. And once you choose to rise, the journey of bouncing back stronger truly begins. When something shatters your life, your first instinct is almost always to ask, why me? It's a question as old as humanity itself. Why did this happen to me? Why now? Why, when I did everything right? It's an honest question, and for a time, it's a natural one. But here's the hard truth. Why me keeps you stuck in the past. It roots you in a place where no forward motion exists. The problem with why me is that it's not really a question that leads anywhere. Even if you could have the exact answer, even if someone could hand you a perfectly clear explanation, it wouldn't change what has already happened. At best, it gives you a reason to point at. At worst, it deepens your resentment and sense of victimhood. The turning point for anyone trying to bounce back comes when you trade that question for a better one. What's next? This shift may seem small, but it's seismic. Why me anchors you to the event. What's next launches you into the future. One looks for justification. The other searches for possibility. I remember meeting a young man who had been laid off from his dream job without warning. For weeks, he stayed in bed, replaying the day it happened over and over. Every conversation he had started with, "I can't believe they did this to me." Then one afternoon, he told me, "I realized they weren't coming back to fix it. They weren't going to give me my job back. The only person who could do anything next was me." That's when his "why me" turned into "what's next." In the months that followed, he learned new skills, networked like never before, and landed a better role with a higher salary. The layoff, he said, became the best thing that had ever happened to his career. But that outcome only came because he chose the forward-looking question. Making this shift isn't about denying the pain or injustice of what happened. It's about recognizing that while the past is fixed, the future is still fluid. You cannot rewrite what happened yesterday, but you can start drafting tomorrow today. Here's how to make that shift in practice. Acknowledge the why me stage. Don't suppress it instantly. Give yourself permission to grieve, to be angry, to feel wronged. But set a limit. Don't pitch a tent there. Reframe your situation. Instead of saying, "I lost everything," try, "I have a new starting point." Language shapes your perspective. Ask targeted forward questions. Replace "why me" with "what's one thing I can do today?" or "where's the opportunity in this?" Detach from needing all the answers. You may never know the complete reason. Make peace with moving forward without closure. Anchor to growth, not blame. Every ounce of energy spent blaming is an ounce not spent building. What's next opens doors. It puts your mind in problem-solving mode rather than replay mode. And here's the magic. When you consistently focus on what's next, your energy shifts. You start noticing opportunities you would have missed while staring at the closed door. You start making small changes that compound into big results. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and start realizing life can happen through you. The most resilient people aren't the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who refuse to let pain dictate their story. They understand that the past can be a chapter, but the future is still unwritten. And what's next is the pen in your hand. Chapter 4. Owning your story, not your scars. Every setback leaves a mark. Some are visible, like the loss of a home, a career shift, or a public failure. Others are invisible, the quiet insecurities, the moments of doubt, the memories you carry silently. We call them scars. And here's what's important to understand. Scars are evidence you survived, not evidence you're broken. Too many people let their scars become their identity. They introduce themselves to the world through the lens of what happened to them. I'm divorced. I'm a failure. I'm the one who lost the business. I'm the one who got sick. Without realizing it, they hand their entire identity over to one chapter of their story. They start living as if they are the scar, not the person who carries it. Owning your story means taking the whole picture, the wins, the losses, the triumphs, the heartbreaks, and deciding that you get to define what it means. The scar is part of the story, but it's not the headline. I once spoke with a woman who had been through a devastating bankruptcy. For years afterward, she avoided any conversation about money or business. She felt like she had failed at life, and that failure was the only thing people saw. Then, during a personal development seminar, she was asked to share a defining moment in her life. Hesitantly, she talked about her bankruptcy. But this time, she told it differently. She spoke about the lessons it taught her, the courage it took to face it, and how it reshaped her priorities. People in the room were moved, not because they saw a failure, but because they saw resilience. That day, she stopped hiding her story and started using it to help others avoid the same mistakes. Here's the reality. If you hide your scars, you also hide your strength. If you pretend they aren't there, you miss the chance to show yourself and others just how far you've come. To own your story without letting your scars define you, consider this approach. Separate the event from your identity. Something happened to you. It is not you. Tell the story from a position of strength. When you talk about it, focus on what you learned, not just what you lost. Refuse the victim label. Even if what happened was unfair, you get to choose whether you carry it as a wound or a badge of survival. See the scar as proof of resilience. Just like a healed cut shows your body repaired itself, your emotional scars show you repaired your spirit. Use your story to lift others. Share it with people who need hope. Your experience could be someone else's survival guide. When you own your story, the power shifts. You no longer flinch when someone brings up the past. You stop feeling like you have to hide parts of yourself. You stop apologizing for surviving. And something even more powerful happens. You start to realize your scars are actually a source of connection. People aren't drawn to your perfection. They're drawn to your humanity. Building the comeback mindset. When people talk about comebacks, they often focus on the actions. The job search, the training, the rebuilding. But the truth is, no action sustains without the mindset to carry it. A comeback doesn't start in your hands. It starts in your head. The comeback mindset isn't just positive thinking. It's not standing in front of a mirror reciting affirmations you don't believe. It's a mental framework, a way of thinking about challenges, opportunities, and yourself that keeps you moving forward even when the road is long. Let's break it down. First, a comeback mindset sees setbacks as temporary, not permanent. This is huge. People who stay down after a fall believe the fall defines the rest of their life. People who rise believe the fall is a chapter, and chapters can be turned. The difference? Hope. Not blind optimism, but the kind of grounded hope that says, I may not know how yet, but I believe there's a way forward. Second, the comeback mindset replaces I can't with how can I? This small shift changes your brain's operating system. I can't shuts down creativity and problem solving. How can I forces your mind to look for solutions, even if they seem small at first. Third, it values persistence over perfection. You don't need to get it right every time. You just need to keep showing up. A comeback isn't built in one grand leap. It's built in daily, deliberate steps that stack over time. I once met a man who had been an athlete at the top of his game until an injury ended his career. For months, he spiraled into depression, convinced his best days were behind him. But eventually, he started applying the comeback mindset. He told himself, if I can't be the player, I can still be in the game somehow. That shift led him to become a sought-after coach, mentoring young athletes. His injury took away one dream, but the mindset gave him another, one that still fulfilled his passion. If you want to build the comeback mindset, here are key practices. Control your inputs. Your mindset is shaped by what you feed it. Limit time with people or media that only reinforce hopelessness. Choose language carefully. Words like always, never, and impossible reinforce limitation. Replace them with possibility-based language. Celebrate small wins. Every bit of progress matters. Recognizing it builds momentum. Visualize the future you want. Your brain works better with a destination. Picture what life could look like a year from now if you keep going. Anchor in purpose. Comebacks aren't just about getting back to where you were. They're about moving towards something meaningful. The comeback mindset also requires patience. It's easy to get discouraged when progress feels slow, but remember, rebuilding is different from starting fresh. You're not only creating something new, you're also recovering from what happened. That takes time, and that's okay. When your mindset is right, the challenges don't shrink. You grow bigger than them. You begin to see every obstacle as part of your training, every delay as a lesson, and every small step as proof you're on the way back. That's when a comeback stops being an idea and starts becoming your reality. Pain is a universal language. Everyone experiences it. Loss, betrayal, disappointment, failure. It's part of the human condition. But here's the divide. Some people let pain consume them, and others turn it into fuel. Turning pain into power doesn't mean pretending you're not hurt. It doesn't mean ignoring the weight you feel. It means deciding that the pain will serve you instead of break you. Pain can sharpen you in ways comfort never will. It can strip away distractions, clarify your priorities, and ignite a level of determination you didn't know you had. Some of history's greatest achievements were born from pain. Inventions that came from personal tragedy, movements that rose from injustice, personal transformations sparked by loss. I remember a conversation with a man who had lost his brother to a drunk driving accident. For years, his grief was all-consuming. Then one day, he said, "I can't bring him back, but I can stop someone else from feeling what I feel." That decision led him to start a foundation advocating for road safety. His pain became a mission, and that mission gave him strength to move forward. Turning pain into power starts with reframing it. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "How can I use this?" Pain can be a teacher, showing you what matters most. It can be a motivator, pushing you to act when comfort would have kept you still. Here's how to channel pain into something that fuels you. Find the lesson. Pain often reveals truths we overlook in easier times. Ask, "What am I learning through this?" Give it purpose. Decide how your experience can help someone else. Helping others shifts the focus from the wound to the work. Use it to build resilience. Every time you move forward despite pain, you strengthen your capacity to handle future challenges. Let it reshape your goals. Pain can make old ambitions feel irrelevant and inspire you to aim for something more meaningful. Don't rush the process. Using pain as fuel doesn't happen instantly. Healing and transformation can happen side by side. Pain also has a unique way of connecting you to others. When you've been through something hard, you can spot the look in someone else's eyes who's going through it too. You can offer empathy that goes beyond words because you've stood in similar darkness. That shared humanity can be the foundation of deep relationships and powerful change. Here's the paradox. Pain will change you whether you like it or not. The question is, will it change you for the worse or for the better? That decision is yours. You can let it make you bitter, or you can let it make you better. You can let it hollow you out, or you can let it carve out space for new strength. Every time you take a step forward with your pain instead of against it, you reclaim your power. And once you realize your pain can be your greatest source of strength, you become unstoppable. Not because you no longer feel the pain, but because you've learned to make it work for you. Chapter 7. Breaking the chains of fear. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that can keep you from bouncing back. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers just loud enough to make you hesitate. And hesitation, when compounded, can become paralysis. After a setback, fear becomes even more persuasive because it has evidence to work with. It reminds you of the pain, the loss, the failure, and warns you it could happen again. Fear often disguises itself as logic. You tell yourself you're just being realistic or careful, but deep down, it's fear putting a leash around your potential. The fear of failing again, of being judged, of losing more. These can keep you from taking the very steps that would rebuild your life. I remember speaking with an artist who stopped painting for 7 years after a gallery rejected her work. The rejection wounded her so deeply that every time she thought of picking up a brush, fear whispered, "What if they're right? What if you're not good enough?" She avoided that pain by avoiding the canvas entirely. It wasn't until she reframed her relationship with fear that she broke free. She decided to paint not for galleries, but for herself. That shift removed fear's grip, and ironically, her work gained recognition again. Breaking the chains of fear starts with understanding what fear really is. A signal, not a sentence. It's your mind's way of trying to keep you safe. But the safe it offers isn't freedom. It's a small, padded cell where nothing grows. Here's how to dismantle fear's control. Name the fear clearly. Vague fear is overwhelming. Specific fear is manageable. I'm afraid of failing again can be addressed. I'm just scared cannot. Challenge the evidence. Fear builds its case with selective memories. Remind yourself of times you succeeded or survived difficulty. Shrink the risk. Break big, scary steps into smaller actions that feel less threatening. Accept that fear won't vanish. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward while it tags along. Act quickly on small impulses. The longer you think, the more fear talks. Train yourself to take action within seconds when possible. Fear feeds on inaction. Every time you delay because of fear, you reinforce its power. Every time you act despite fear, you weaken its grip. The chains don't fall away all at once. They loosen link by link, until one day, you realize you're free to move again. Here's something important. Fear never really disappears. Even the most successful people feel it. The difference is, they've learned to make fear a passenger, not the driver. They acknowledge it, thank it for its concern, and then keep going in the direction of their goals. When you start seeing fear as a sign that you're stepping into new territory, it becomes less of an enemy and more of a compass. It means you're stretching beyond your comfort zone, and that's exactly where the strongest comebacks are forged. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to bounce back is expecting one massive leap to fix everything. They look for the one big opportunity, the perfect break, the life-changing event that will erase the setback. But here's the truth. Comebacks are rarely built on big moments. They're built on a series of small wins that stack up over time. Think about a stalled car. You don't slam it into high gear immediately. You start with small, steady movements that get the wheels turning. The same applies to rebuilding your life. Small wins give you momentum, and momentum is the engine of transformation. I once worked with someone who had been out of work for a year. The idea of landing her dream job felt overwhelming. So we focused on small wins, updating her resume, applying to just 2 jobs a week, reaching out to 1 new contact every few days. None of these wins felt monumental at the time, but after 3 months, she had dozens of applications out, multiple interviews lined up, and her confidence restored. Eventually, she landed the job she wanted, and she credited the early small wins for breaking her inertia. Why do small wins work so well? Because they build confidence gradually. Every win, no matter how small, proves to you that progress is possible. Create positive feedback loops. Success breeds more action. More action breeds more success. Reduce overwhelm. Big goals can paralyze you. Small steps make them manageable. Strengthen habits. Consistency over time reshapes your identity. Shift your focus from the gap to the gain. Instead of obsessing over how far you have to go, you start appreciating how far you've come. The key to using small wins effectively is to define them clearly and celebrate them deliberately. If your goal is to get fit, a small win might be a 15-minute walk today. If your goal is to rebuild financially, a small win might be saving $20 this week. If your goal is emotional recovery, a small win might be reaching out to a supportive friend instead of isolating. It's easy to underestimate these small actions because they don't deliver instant transformation. But over time, they compound. 10 small wins a month equals 120 a year, and that kind of momentum changes everything. Here's a simple framework to harness small wins for big momentum. Start smaller than you think. The point is to start moving, not to prove anything to anyone. Track progress visibly. Seeing your wins on paper or on a wall calendar reinforces the habit. Celebrate without judgment. A win is a win, no matter how minor it may seem to others. Use wins to fuel bigger steps. Once you've proven you can do the small thing consistently, level up. Momentum is a strange thing. Once it's on your side, it feels unstoppable. But you can't wait for it to arrive. You create it, one small win at a time. And before you know it, those small wins become the very force that carries you to your full comeback. Learning to bend, not break. There's a quality that separates people who survive life's storms from those who are crushed by them. It's not raw strength. It's not unshakable confidence. It's flexibility. The ability to bend without breaking is one of the most underrated traits of resilient people. Think about a tree in a storm. A rigid, brittle tree will snap under the pressure of strong winds, but a tree that can bend and sway survives. It absorbs the force, moves with it, and stays rooted. Life's challenges work the same way. If you're rigid, if you insist everything must go exactly as you planned, the first unexpected hit can shatter you. But if you can adapt, you endure. Bending doesn't mean giving up your values or goals. It means adjusting your methods, timelines, and expectations without abandoning the bigger vision. It means staying committed to the what while being flexible about the how. I remember talking to a man who had been training for years to qualify for a marathon. A few months before the race, he suffered a knee injury. The old version of himself would have quit entirely. But instead, he asked, "How can I still achieve something meaningful this year?" He shifted his focus to cycling, something he could do without aggravating the injury. He entered a long-distance cycling event, trained with the same discipline, and crossed that finish line with tears in his eyes. His dream didn't happen the way he originally envisioned, but he still found victory because he bent instead of broke. Here's how to build the ability to bend. Detach from the original script. Life rarely follows the exact story you wrote. That's okay. The story can change and still be great. Focus on principles, not plans. Your principles, discipline, persistence, integrity, can stay the same even when your plans shift. See change as feedback. Instead of viewing change as a setback, see it as life giving you more information about what will work. Practice micro-adaptations daily. Change small routines intentionally so flexibility becomes a habit. Accept seasons. Some seasons are for pushing, others for waiting, others for healing. Respect the season you're in. When you learn to bend, you stop fearing change. You stop resisting the unexpected and start looking for ways to work with it. Flexibility becomes your shield, allowing you to withstand more than you thought possible. Life will continue to throw wins your way, but when you've mastered the art of bending, those wins stop feeling like a threat. They become the very force that shapes you into something stronger. Chapter 10. Fueling yourself with purpose. You can have all the skills, resources, and opportunities in the world, but without purpose, your comeback will eventually run out of fuel. Purpose is the engine that keeps you moving when motivation fades and the path gets rough. Purpose isn't just a lofty idea. It's the deep, personal reason you keep going when giving up would be easier. It's what makes the struggle worth it. When you have a strong why, you can endure almost any how. I once met a single mother rebuilding her life after leaving an abusive relationship. She told me there were nights she felt like she couldn't go on, but then she'd look at her children sleeping and remind herself, "They're my why." That purpose turned her exhaustion into determination, her fear into courage. Today, she runs her own small business, but she'll tell you her success didn't come from business strategies alone. It came from knowing exactly who she was doing it for. Purpose doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to involve changing the whole world. Sometimes, your purpose is simply to be there for your family, to set an example for your kids, to prove to yourself that you can overcome what tried to break you, or to contribute something meaningful to your community. If you want to fuel yourself with purpose, here's how. Identify what matters most. Ask yourself, if everything else was stripped away, what would still make my life worth living? Tie your goals to your values. The most sustainable goals are rooted in what you deeply care about, not what others expect from you. Keep your why visible. Write it down, put it on your wall, or keep a photo that reminds you daily. Revisit and refine. Your purpose can evolve as you grow. Give yourself permission to adjust it over time. Connect it to service. Purpose grows when it's about more than just you. Find ways your comeback can help others. Purpose also has a way of reframing pain. When you know your struggle serves a greater cause, the hardship doesn't feel as heavy. It transforms obstacles into stepping stones because you see them as part of a bigger journey. Without purpose, it's easy to get lost in the grind, to feel like you're moving but not really going anywhere. With purpose, even the toughest days feel like they matter. It gives your comeback not just direction, but depth. It ensures that when you do bounce back, you're not just returning to where you were. You're rising into a life that's richer, fuller, and more aligned with who you truly are. Chapter 11. Mastering Self-Discipline. When the initial spark of motivation fades, and it will, self-discipline is what keeps the fire alive. Motivation can start the journey, but discipline finishes it. Discipline is the quiet, consistent force that keeps you showing up, even when you don't feel like it. People often mistake discipline for punishment or deprivation. In reality, discipline is freedom. It frees you from being at the mercy of moods, whims, and external circumstances. When you master self-discipline, you take control of your actions instead of letting your emotions decide your future. Think of the difference between a river and a flood. A flood is wild, unpredictable, and destructive. A river, while still powerful, is contained by its banks and flows with purpose. Discipline is what gives your energy and effort those banks. It channels your power toward meaningful outcomes. I once worked with a man who wanted to rebuild his life after years of poor financial choices. He was inspired at first, but after a few months, the thrill wore off. What kept him going was the system he built. Tracking his expenses daily, sticking to a budget, and saving a fixed percentage no matter what. It wasn't glamorous, but over time, his discipline created results that motivation alone never could. If you want to master self-discipline, consider these principles. Clarity comes first. You can't be disciplined about something vague. Get specific about what you want and why it matters. Start with small commitments. Build your discipline muscle with simple daily wins before tackling massive changes. Use systems, not willpower. Willpower is like a battery. It drains. Systems, routines, schedules, checklists, keep you going without constant decision-making. Delay gratification. Learn to resist the short-term temptation for the sake of long-term rewards. Track your progress. Measurable results keep you accountable and motivated. Discipline over mood. Your feelings will fluctuate. Your commitment should not. The truth is, self-discipline isn't about being perfect. You'll miss days. You'll have setbacks. The key is to not let one slip become a spiral. Get back on track as quickly as possible. When you master self-discipline, you stop waiting for the right mood to do the work. You build a habit of action that makes your comeback inevitable. And as the days turn into weeks and weeks into months, you'll see the power of consistency, not in a burst of glory, but in the quiet accumulation of effort that changes everything. Surrounding yourself with strength. No matter how determined you are, no one bounces back alone. The people you surround yourself with can either lift you higher or pull you back down. That's why building the right environment is one of the most powerful and overlooked parts of a comeback. You can't expect to heal in the same environment that broke you. You can't expect to grow if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, doubt, or small thinking. The people in your circle matter. They influence your mindset, your habits, and even your sense of what's possible. I once spoke to a young woman who had been trying to start her own business for years, but couldn't seem to get it off the ground. Then she joined a local entrepreneurs group, people who were building, failing, trying again, and supporting each other. Within a year, her mindset completely shifted. She went from thinking, maybe I can, to I will, because she was now surrounded by proof that success was possible. Surrounding yourself with strength means being intentional about your relationships and environment. Here's how. Identify your energy drains. Notice the people or environments that leave you feeling worse, doubting yourself, or stuck. Seek out expanders. These are people who inspire you, challenge you, and encourage your growth. Create accountability. Share your goals with people who will hold you to them, not let you off the hook when it gets hard. Limit toxic exposure. You don't have to cut everyone out, but you can set boundaries to protect your energy. Invest in community. Join groups, masterminds, or circles where growth is the norm, not the exception. Sometimes, surrounding yourself with strength means making difficult choices, stepping back from relationships that no longer align with your future. That can be painful, but it's necessary if you want to rise. You can't keep planting your dreams in soil that doesn't nourish them. When you're rebuilding, the right people are like scaffolding around a structure under repair. They help you hold steady, keep you from collapsing, and give you the support you need until you can stand strong on your own. Thriving beyond the storm. Coming back from a setback is one thing. Thriving beyond it is another. Many people stop at recovery. They get back to where they were before life knocked them down, and then they stay there. But if you truly want to bounce back stronger, you must aim higher than your old normal. You have to build a life that's not just repaired, but renewed. Think of a forest after a wildfire. At first, the land looks barren and lifeless. But over time, new growth appears, not the same as before, but more resilient. The plants that come back after fire have deeper roots, thicker bark, and an ability to withstand harsher conditions. They are not simply restored, they are transformed. Thriving beyond the storm means refusing to let your worst moments be your defining moments. It means using the lessons, scars, and strength you've gained to create a version of yourself that your past self could hardly imagine. I knew a man who had lost everything: his job, his home, and his marriage, all in the same year. His first goal was simply survival. But once he stabilized, he began to ask a different question. What if I can make this the best thing that ever happened to me? He pursued skills he had always wanted to learn, built a new career from scratch, and eventually moved to a place he had dreamed of living for years. He didn't just rebuild the life he had. He built a life he truly wanted. If you want to thrive beyond the storm, consider these steps. Redefine your ceiling. Stop aiming just to get back to where you were. Ask what your best life could look like from here. Build from your strengths. Your hardships have revealed qualities in you that you didn't know you had. Use them as your foundation. Stay in a growth environment. Keep challenging yourself with new goals and new experiences. Guard against complacency. Comfort can be a subtle trap. Keep stretching beyond what feels easy. Serve others with your story. One of the most powerful ways to thrive is to help others navigate storms you've already weathered. Thriving is not about ignoring the pain of the past. It's about allowing that pain to shape a future that's richer, more meaningful, and more aligned with who you've become. You didn't go through the storm just to return to the same shore. You went through it to find a new one with a clearer view and a stronger footing. Chapter 14. Becoming unshakable. True resilience is not about avoiding storms. It's about becoming the kind of person who can stand in the middle of one without breaking. Becoming unshakable doesn't mean you'll never feel fear, doubt, or pain. It means those feelings no longer control you. An unshakable person has an internal anchor, a deep sense of self, values, and purpose that doesn't shift with circumstances. They've been tested enough times to know that while life can knock them down, it can't keep them there unless they let it. There's a quiet power in this kind of strength. It's not loud or boastful. In fact, unshakable people often go unnoticed until adversity comes. Then, when everyone else is panicking, they remain calm, steady, and decisive. How do you become unshakable? It's not a single act. It's a series of habits and mindsets practiced over time. Anchor to your purpose. When you know why you're doing something, you can endure almost any how. Detach from outcomes you can't control. Focus your energy on actions, not anxieties. Face discomfort regularly. Seek challenges that test your patience, strength, and courage. Protect your inner dialogue. The story you tell yourself in hard times shapes your reality. Build emotional endurance. Allow yourself to feel, but don't let feelings dictate your actions. Stand on your principles. When you have non-negotiable values, decisions become easier and fear has less power over you. I once met a mountain climber who said something I'll never forget. You don't rise to the level of the mountain, you fall to the level of your preparation. That's what becoming unshakable is, preparing yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, so that no matter how high the climb or how fierce the storm, you remain standing. When you're unshakable, you stop living in fear of the next challenge. You know it will come, but you also know that you will meet it with the same strength, clarity, and calm that you've built through every trial before it. Chapter 15. Living your strongest chapter yet. There's a point in every comeback story where the hero realizes they are no longer simply recovering. They are living, thriving, writing a new story in which the setback is just one plot twist in a much larger journey. This is where you are now. You've been through the knockdowns, you've chosen to rise, you've rebuilt, and you've fortified your spirit. Now the question is no longer, how do I get back up, but what will I do with the strength I have now? Living your strongest chapter yet is about intentional living. It's about refusing to drift through life on autopilot and instead steering your life toward what matters most. You've learned through adversity that time is precious, opportunities are fleeting, and nothing is guaranteed. That awareness is your advantage. Use it. When people reach this stage after a setback, they often notice a shift in their priorities. Things that once felt urgent no longer matter as much, and things that once felt optional, relationships, health, personal growth, suddenly take center stage. Your trials have stripped away the excess, leaving behind a clearer sense of what's truly important. To live your strongest chapter yet. Lead with gratitude. You understand now that every good moment is a gift. Gratitude turns ordinary days into extraordinary ones. Pursue what excites you. You've already faced the pain of loss. Don't settle for a life that doesn't light you up. Stay battle-ready. Life will still test you, but you've proven you can endure and adapt. Keep your resilience sharp. Build a legacy. Think about how your story can impact those who will come after you. Live in a way that inspires. Choose courage over comfort. The strength you have now was built in the discomfort zone. Keep stepping into it. Remember this. Your strongest chapter is not the one where everything is perfect. It's the one where you're fully alive, deeply engaged, and unafraid to live in alignment with who you've become. You are no longer the same person who was knocked down. That version of you didn't know yet how strong they could be. But you do now, and that knowledge is your superpower. Conclusion, the call to rise always. Life will knock you down again. That's not a threat, it's a fact. But now, you have something you didn't have before, proof. Proof that you can rise, rebuild, and even surpass the life you had before. You've learned that resilience is not just about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward. You've discovered that your scars are not signs of weakness but marks of survival. You've felt the truth that strength is not born in comfort, but in the moments when you have every reason to give up and you choose not to. The journey we've taken together in Bounce Back Stronger is not meant to end here. It's meant to be the start of your lifelong practice of rising. Every challenge ahead is another opportunity to prove, to yourself and the world, that you are unshakable, adaptable, and unstoppable. When the next storm comes, you won't wonder if you can survive it. You'll know you can. And you'll know that on the other side, there is a version of you that's even stronger, wiser, and more alive. So take this strength you've built and live. Live fully. Love deeply. Pursue boldly. And when life knocks you down, as it will, remember the truth you carry now. You can rise. You will rise. And every time you do, you'll bounce back stronger.